I was like talking to my manager recently about how I see hip hop very quickly going the way of jazz and blues music, where at this point the people who are consuming and producing uh, jazz and blues, not even producing but consuming and controlling it, are quote unquote white entities. Um, and it's very funny because they're viewed through the lens of academia now, when before that they were demon devil music made by apes and monkeys and all of these things that we were thought of. And when you think about hip hop, and it was degenerate music and it was all of this stuff, and like even black elite people thought that, these forms of music, jazz, blues, so on and so forth, were degenerate, forms of creativity and music and stuff. And when you think about the narrative that has been around hip hop for, you know in the short time that hip hop has been a thing in the context of music, it's all been the same thing. But as of late, you've been seeing this kind of shift where hip hop has been so absorbed into the mainstream, so absorbed into commodification, and so absorbed into like just this dominant white consumerist culture, where the people who are spending the most money on concert tickets and spending the most money on streaming and all of these things are not actively the people who create the stuff. You're starting to see little things pop up where such and such is being viewed this way through the lens of academia in that way, but only in the context of them being able to share it, right? So the other is able to tell us what is valuable culturally or valuable artistically or lyrically, uh, about our own art, about what we're doing, about what we're creating. And it's been very interesting. And like when you think about, as an artist, you do press and you do publications and all these things, and like there's no disrespect to nobody, all these people are white. All like like all the people who are working in these publications, who are telling you that your art is valuable or not, or telling you that it exists in this context or that context, mostly are white people. And that is an interesting thing if you are making black music, um, and telling black stories and from a black place, or what I mean. It's an interesting thing to navigate because these people are determining the value of whether your music can exist in the canon in terms of mainstream acceptance. And that's problematic. I mean, that's not good. That's kind of bad. And I think that signals the shifting of exactly what I'm talking about, because that when that happened to blues, it stopped being what it was, right? And a bunch of people made money, but when you look at it today, the people who own a lot of that music, who control the rights to a lot of that music, is not the people who produce that music. And the same thing with jazz, right? You have all these artists who make jazz music. They signed to all these major labels once jazz became an acceptable thing to do and it wasn't degenerate music. All of these people, then their ownership rights and their publishing and all this other stuff is owned by big, large corporations. And then those corporations make money off of that stuff for the rest of forever. And I see that happening with hip hop. And as a person who has made hip hop, right, and loves, at times loves hip hop, it's a very interesting thing to kind of be alive to witness. Um, a little while ago, I had this conversation with my brother, and I was like, man, we living through like a fire time. Like we get to see this artist and that artist. We get to watch this. I think we were just leaving the movies. It was like, man, like we're alive during this time. If we were, born 60 years before this, we would be seeing something completely different. If we were born 100 years before this, we would be seeing something completely different. If we were born 100 years later, we would miss this person or miss this thing. And we got to see all of this stuff. And like, I think about the very pessimistic me thinks that we are also getting to see the end of all of the things that we grew up loving and watching, and the maxing out of all these things, or the reset. The optimistic me thinks that these things will reset. The pessimistic me thinks that these things are over. That the things that we loved about sports and film and music and all of these things and concerts and all this stuff is over and is going to be replaced by tech and content and flat AI bullshit, fucking slop shit, that feels very likely. And maybe I'm panicking. Maybe I'm, when electricity came out, motherfuckers was like, oh, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? It's like maybe I'm one of those people. Maybe I've aged into that. And I think this shit is cooked and it's over. But when I see the things that I'm seeing, and then I know history and I know what has happened before for black people and their exports and what they produced, it looked pretty over to me. And but then also I think about like at one point people were making this thing and nobody could have conceived what the next thing would be. And then the next thing came. And so as a person who was born in 1991, and hip hop came out when hip hop came out, and I got to see the arc of what that is. I'm very interested in like what is the next thing, right? Niggas have made blues and jazz, rock and roll. I didn't say nothing about rock, but rock is another one. Rock, hip hop. What would be the next thing that somebody's making or about to make in the next? Might be making it now. It could be 10 years from now. It could be 5 years from now. But what is that thing? And the fact that my brain can't even conceive it is exactly how that happens. But also my brain goes, maybe we've maxed out the creative musical output of humans. Like maybe all of this shit is maxed out. Maybe we've done as much as we can do with these forms, and that's why everything feels so flat and feels so empty and feels lazy, and because we can't push it any further, and that's a sucky thing to feel. But it could be true. We don't know. But that's something I think about a lot.